So about 2 years ago, I started traveling the world after building my online business. I was going from the UK to Europe to Asia, back to the UK to Europe, back to Asia, to the Middle East, to Asia, back to the Middle East. And that's now where I've finally decided to settle down and be based in Dubai. But what I will say is that looking back at all of this, over the last 2 years since leaving the UK, everything in my life has completely changed. I feel like I've made 40, 50 years of progress. In fact, progress that I didn't even think was possible in a lifetime in just 2 years, physically, mentally, and career-wise. And I'm just 24. So I'm making this video effectively to highlight how big an impact traveling and building an online business had on my life, but hopefully to allow you to be inspired enough to take action on this yourself. And if anything, do it earlier than I did, because my only regret looking back is the fact that I didn't do it sooner. And I think so many people don't realize how possible it is to do. And once you do make that leap, everything else is going to snowball from there, guys. So to begin with, guys, for any of you guys who don't know me, I'm going to run this right back to 2020. And this was where my entrepreneurial online business started at the roots, in all honesty. So in 2020, I was an engineer. I was working just a normal 9 to 5. It was more like a 6 a.m. till 6 p.m. sort of job though. And COVID came, obviously in 2019 and through 2020. And it got to the point, I can't remember what date in 2020. And for some reason, I was just in a really low spot. I think gym for me was just a crutch, in all honesty. And when the gyms were closing and when the bars were closed, I was never a big drinker, but I think I really realized how much I hated my life and my work when the only thing I had in this world was work. Everything else was taken away. And I couldn't really get any pleasure from just sitting at home drinking alcohol. I know some people did, but that was not me. My way of escaping was definitely the gym and just socializing, but more in a relaxed way. And all of that was taken away. And I was in work one day. We were working away at a different factory, and there was a wise guy there. And he said, he was, I don't know, 55, 60. He said to me a question, and he was asking me about, what are your life goals? Where do you want to go? And I started talking. I was like, I want to travel, I want to have this online business, pretty much what every guy in his 20s and 30s would say. But I was clearly not in the right vehicle to do that, and to carry on would have just been pure insanity. And he told me a story about how he has one regret in life, and that was not going after the life he wanted. And he'd been in the same workplace from 22 when he was still there at knocking on 60. 40 years in a career that he didn't even like, and a career that, even if it was to pay well, it weren't the vehicle to the life he wanted. And he said to me, Tom, I'm going to give you one piece of advice. Don't live in regret. Don't live in what if. And I went home that night and I was sat scratching my head and I was writing down what I want to do. And I was like, this guy's so right. Like, nothing is going to change unless I go and do something about it. So what I did was a pretty bold move. I quit my 9 to 5 job and decided that I was going to start a coaching business as an in-person personal trainer. Now, I'd probably been training for 2 years at this point. I'd built a pretty solid physique. I was probably 10% body fat, decent amount of muscle mass for a 20-year-old guy. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to go into this business. Yeah, at this point, when I quit my job, I had £2,000 in my bank account and I weren't even qualified as a personal trainer. Obviously, to train someone in the gym, you need all the legal stuff. So what I did were, effectively, I had seriously just cut the rope. I trusted myself because I'd followed the daily habits for a long enough period of time. I'd woken up early, I'd gone to the gym before work. I'd seen real hard results on myself from the work. And that's why I always say, guys, start with the physique, start with building the discipline, start with building the mindset. So when these big decisions do come around the corner, you've got the confidence to just take that leap and trust yourself. And I don't think that's possible if you've not done that personal development yet. So I quit my job and had £2,000. I bought a personal training course and I invested in my very first mentor. I was literally flat broke. I'd spent all the money I had simply just to try to grow this business. And then I was walking around, knocking on all the gym doors, asking if they had any spaces available. And I got my way very luckily into a very nice gym that was aligned with the sort of people I wanted to help. I've always been very business focused, very career focused, very high performance focused, because before that I was actually golfing on a very high level and was able to travel with that. And that allowed me, when I was flat broke, to see some crazy locations around the world, which showed me there was money there. And I knew I wanted to be around people who were doing well. So I was actually training people in person once I got the job on high performance and really helping them with the fitness, the fat loss, but just generic goals, but specifically in a nice gym with quite an affluent range of people. However, big issue here, guys, because I started my job and I think it was the second or third day I went in, and this was self-employed. This was a big risk, as it were, quitting the job, but I went into a self-employed, almost entrepreneurial job from the start. And went back in and another lockdown came. The gym's closed. And I'd already had a big argument with my parents and my family, how they were like, you are so crazy for leaving this really nice, safe, secure job at a couple of $1,000 a month in COVID. It's the hardest time ever to get a job. And I quit and went into this job, and I had to come home after 2 or 3 days and basically say, Mom, the gym's closed. And this really now sparked something in me. I was like, right, I'm really going to have to hustle for one, but I also deep down knew that I was really going to have to start building this personal brand. And this 10-year goal I had of maybe one day at 20 years old, I was thinking maybe if by 30, 32, I could live in Dubai and have an online business. It brought the timeline much closer for me and the necessity to do it much closer, because at the start when I turned into PT, it was very much a case of, oh, if you could just earn the same money in PT and just love what you're doing, that would be amazing. But now I had a necessity to go and build an income, but on an online platform, and push that. So from the very start, I was working on my personal brand to a small level, didn't really understand the intricacies I do today. And I took home one set of dumbbells and a barbell and one of those little flip up Reebok benches, the little plastic benches for doing step ups on and stuff like that. The gym owner very kindly allowed me to take them home, and I had them on the side of the road. This was during winter, it was snowing, the very beginning of 2020, and I was out there shoveling snow, and I was messaging people on Instagram, and I was like, hey, I'm doing personal training now. I'm training people outside if you want to come. I know there's not much else to do in COVID. And I was hustling. But what was crazy were, I realized how able I were when I didn't know how able I were before. So in my first 4 weeks, I think I'd made £4,000 being very underpriced for PT and overworking, but just the hustle, when you are forced to get creative and go out there and make it happen, you just do. Like the best thing I ever did, I'm not saying everyone should do this, was quit my job and have no escape route. Like I was all in. There was no rope to climb back out. It was this works or you're done. Like you are done. So that was the best thing that ever happened to me, was that COVID lockdown coming as soon as I started that, because even my in-person clients at the start, I was acquiring all online by being very entrepreneurial and understanding that I had to go get it. I had to make it happen. Now, by the time the gym had opened, I think 4 months later, I was doing 8 to 10K a month, which was really good. And I'd started building up my knowledge. I'd been working with a mentor. I'd had £1,000 a month mentorship before I could even have £1,000. It was crazy. I put everything I had on the line and went all in. So by the time the gym's open, I was actually doing really well. And I built my business up above the 10K marker then by just speaking and being a helpful person and investing all the money I had back into myself and every course I could get on physique and fitness and nutrition and mindset. I would have been in there and I was studying, and it was just a full-time thing, 3, 4 a.m. till 11 p.m. at night. I was just doing that every single day. And that took me for a year, really. I had a year where I was pretty much 90% all in on the personal training, and some of that was grown via online through my Instagram. And then I think 2020, about after 11 months, I think I quit full time. I quit and went full time online. And this was where my online had started trickling up, but nothing like what came in 2021. So 2021, I went all in on my personal brand. And I, again, found another mentor to now not just help me with the in-person personal training and the growth there, but now the online and building myself up online. Because at the time I had, I think, when I very started on the personal training, I think I had maybe 1,000 followers, 2,000 followers. And by the end of 2021, I think I had 40 something thousand. So this is where I really went in and grew my personal brand and grew my authority in the area at the time, and I really got known for being the fitness coach, being the guy that was shredded, being the guy that had a good physique, and also at a very young age, because I was 21 at this time. Now, after working hard then in the online space for a good year, when 2022 came, I was at a point where I had now money to not just invest back in mentors, but also invest into my lifestyle and travel. And the year 2022 was the turning point. Okay, this was where I was maybe doing 10, 15,000 UK a month, varying a little bit at the time, I remember, but I was doing well because I'd done the 10K in personal training, drained that back to zero and started fresh in online. So effectively just my second business there, and got that back up to that marker within that first year, if not, I think 6 months. But in 2022, I was earning good money, but I was still, now I look back, I was still very programmed by the world. I was still very in the society norms, hanging out around the same people, still listening to family for advice. And I love my family more than anything, but they know the advice I take these days is only coming from the top. It's only coming from people that have walked the walk. And I was also in a relationship at the time, and her family were giving me advice and they were trying to give me advice. And I just had this fire inside of me. And I was like, this is just not right. This is wrong. I want to go to the moon. And everyone's telling me, when are you going to stop working? When are you going to take some time out? When are you going to just relax? And in my head, I'm like, I was doing 10, 15 grand a month. I was like, this is nothing. Like, because you've got to detach from the money. I was maybe working with 50 clients at the time, and I was like, 50 in the scheme of the world is nothing. You've got to forget the money aspect. And I was thinking, the impact I want to have is far beyond 50 people. So stop telling me to stop growing just because them guys perceived it as a lot of money. Okay. So I started traveling a little bit, and we went to Europe. I did a trip on my own, I believe. I did a trip with my girlfriend to Europe. And then we came back, went to Bali with a few friends who were also in the coaching space, came back. And at that point, I was very set on, I didn't want to be in that relationship anymore. All right. And that's no disrespect to the person. I just knew that I was a guy that didn't even know who I were at that point. It was a strange time because I'd accomplished a lot for a 21-year-old, 22-year-old, maybe nearly going 22. And I didn't know who I were. I didn't know what I truly wanted. I didn't know my personality because I was still living at home at this point. And I was either living at my house or I was living at her parents' house. And I'd never had that time alone. And I never had the freedom. So there was no way for me. All I were was just a version of programmed my parents and her and my friends and everyone around me. And I was just a bit of an odd one out, but still definitely drawn to what everyone around me was doing. So as soon as I got to that point where I was doing better than everyone around me, I did feel like I was trapped in this wall and there was nowhere else to go. I couldn't really see any bigger than that. I thought people were recognizing me around in gyms like, oh, you're killing it. But I just knew that something weren't as good as people thought it were. So coming to the start of 2020, early 2023, I decided to end it with that girlfriend at the time. And I booked a very spontaneous trip. I think it was a Tuesday evening, and I booked a trip on my phone to go to Dubai. I always knew I wanted to go to Dubai. As soon as I started the online stuff, I was like, my goal is one day to be at the point where I can live in Dubai and travel. And I booked I think a 2-week trip for Dubai on my own, 2 weeks after the day I booked it. Like literally the day I broke up, I was like, I had this like resentment. I was like, everyone around me was saying, don't go Dubai. Why do you want to go Dubai? And now I look back, it was just projective. They were just jealous that they weren't in that position. And I went, but what I did do were, I was lying in bed the night, I booked it, and I thought, I'm not waiting 2 weeks. I'm free. I'm earning the money. What am I doing? I need to go now. And I went the next morning. I went the very next morning, went for 2 weeks. And the day I landed, there was just this wall of energy that just hit me. And it was 50,000 times better than I could have ever imagined. Like now I go outside, it feels very normal. But I realize how much the positive energy is in Dubai when I land back in the UK, when I come and visit family. And I'm like, oh my God, this is depressing. And the first time I ever stepped off that plane and I saw the city in Dubai, and I was in a Marina Gate apartment at the time, and there was just this buzz. I could not believe it. And I'd already prepaid, but I had to pay some form of deposit in case anything got damaged when I landed. It was like 2 a.m. in the morning. And I said to the guy, is this available? Like, is this going to be available after I go? He said, there's 2 more weeks free, unbooked. And I says, okay, give me the card machine. And I paid for another 2 weeks. I was like, fuck this. I'm having the month. And I'd been in this apartment. I was still being shown around the apartment. I'd been in there 20, 30 seconds. I says, mate, can I take it for the month? I was like, this is where I need to be. There was just some feeling I'd never, ever experienced before. And also living on my own for the first time, but now in a luxury apartment in Dubai, in one of the nicest buildings on the marina. And I was there on my own, being able to soak up this freedom and just focus without distraction of my mum coming in my bedroom when I'm trying to work or on calls or whatever, all this stuff. And it was the best feeling ever. So from here, I was just forced into an uncomfortable situation, but an exciting situation. It was all about growth and meeting new people and just putting yourself out there. And when I was young, I was a very introverted person. I still am. I like to just keep myself to myself, focus, work in my office all day. But there's definitely an extroverted side to me that I developed and found with moving, and I was forced to. And that's helped me so much with who I am as a person now, but also with my business. So I was out, I was going in the gyms, I was forcing myself to speak to everybody, some top people who I'd seen them on YouTube, I'd seen them on Instagram since I was like 16 years old. And then you're now training in them. You're someone who's in a position where you're living in the same buildings as these people. And it seemed a bit surreal at the start. And all of a sudden you're hanging around in a new network, you're going out for dinner with a new set of lads who are all earning a lot of money, and they're all very successful, they're all very driven, and every single person was just so positive. Every single person wanted you to succeed. Every single person, it was just inevitable that you were gonna succeed. Anything you told them, any goal, it was like, yeah, you've got it. There was no doubt, there was no negativity, there was no questioning, and that was the biggest shift ever from a business growth perspective. It was the craziest thing. And just seeing how everybody operates. And the thing is, when you live in Dubai as well, you can be earning what seems like a decent amount of money in the UK, and you go downstairs and there's just Rolls Royce, Lamborghini, Bugatti, and you're like, oh, well, 10 grand a month, 20 grand a month, 30 grand a month, 40 grand a month is never gonna buy you those cars. And the sort of stuff people have over here, all the limited edition stuff. And you realize how small an amount of money it is when you do the maths on what some of the people are buying out here. And it makes you think a lot bigger. And a lot of why I think people struggle in business early on, especially when you're selling a product, is they're selling something that they deem themselves to be expensive. And if you deem something to be expensive, when you ask for that value exchange, if you think it's expensive, you've got no chance of selling that product. Whereas when I came to Dubai, what it did were, if I was selling a product which was a few £100s a month, and then I came here and my apartment would cost more than a few £100s a month at the time, I was like, it would cost more than a few £100s a day at the time. Asking a client for a few £100s to change their life seemed like not much money at all. So the mindset shift on money changed. I actually want to work out how much the apartment at the time would have cost. I think I was spending a decent amount for how much I was earning at the time. Maybe, yeah, I would say 200 and something UK per night. So maybe $6,000 a month or something like that. It was a decent whack of money. And all of a sudden then the dynamic changed when you're living that lifestyle, and there's just no sales that even has to happen. I don't have to sell somebody. I'm like, I live this lifestyle. I'm not going to sell you to build your best self and build your best life. Like, I'm the one living it. Like, that's nothing. You can't spend a few £100 on yourself to actually create this for yourself. That's your own issue. The dynamic change, as opposed to me, almost like, I think at the start when you're in the UK, people, and a lot of coaches struggle because they need the money and they're asking, and they find it hard to ask for a lot of money. Whereas when you become someone where it's not a lot of money to you, you're not even selling. It's just people want to work with you. And the money mindset changes drastically. So that was one of the biggest things that happened in Dubai. But what I will say is I built a new circle. And I would say all the guys at the time were maybe doing 15 to 40K months who I was hanging around at the time. And that was like a different league compared to the UK. But what I did find were, it was almost like another brick wall again. After 6 months or so of being in that clique, that group, I found a little bit stuck again, because I knew my goal was to have so much bigger an impact. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do at this point, but I knew I was wanting to go a lot bigger. I was always fulfilled from growth, and I didn't want to feel capped again. And you're always capped to your environment. You've got to remember that no matter how good your environment is, you are capped to the best performer in that environment. And yes, everyone was doing well in that group at the time, but there was no one who I inspired to be like. I was wanting to be 100,000 times anything, even from that group. So what I did were, I made a decision that even though I'd moved to Dubai and set the business up, I thought I'm going to relocate temporarily, and I'm going to go in a monk mode sprint, I called it, to Bali, and bought I moved into a luxury villa. It was like unreal. Some big LA mansion style place in Bali. Again, that may have been 10, 11 USD a month. And I was like, right, I'm getting a nice villa. I'm going to go monk mode. I'm going to set up a nice big studio office. And I'm just going to literally wake up at 3 a.m., do my business meetings, do my calls, do my work, go to the gym at 7, come back at 7:30, work all day, go get steak in the evening, network a bit in the evening, come home, rinse, repeat, go. And it was, for me, it was about making life harder. Dubai had almost got too easy. It was, you're in a nice group of people, everyone's doing well, everyone's chatting good stuff, but it was almost maintenance again for just a better level. And it was going to beach clubs, it was living that nice lifestyle, but I was like, I'm not fulfilled. I soon got down, I was like, this is it, like, where now? So Bali for me was about personal development. I went there with the solo intention to become a new man. Before in Dubai, I was just a young kid with some money who was doing well, and it was just a little bit switched on for where I were at my age, I would say. Okay, I weren't doing anything crazy, something every single person who's watching this video can do. I was just quite young when I did it. And Bali was about, I needed to make this harder. I needed to put myself back in that dungeon like I was when I was in my bedroom at home working at my mum's, and it forced me to grow. When times were tough in COVID and I was working from home, I was like, I have to grow. That drive to have to grow went after a few months in Dubai because it was too easy. So Bali was about monk mode. Yes, it was a nice villa. Yes, everything was done on an upgraded scale, but it was about removing distractions. No partying, no girls, no one night stands, none of this stuff. Now, I did actually, ironically, meet my current girlfriend in Bali at the time, but it was in the gym. It weren't going out. I weren't drinking. I weren't partying. It happened very, very organically. We weren't together for the first 6 months, but it kind of just turned into something. And it was probably, I would say, hands down, even like the first year when I moved away to Dubai, it was impactful, but that 6 month sprint in Bali over the past winter was so much growth. Like, I figured out who I were. I figured out my North Star goal. So I now have a very clear picture on exactly what I want to do across my entire lifetime. Now, in my opinion, until you know who you are, until you've spent enough time alone, until you've done the traveling, until you've gone to these locations, until you've earned 20, 30, 40, 50K months, you don't, in my opinion, really know who you are. And I'm not saying that no one who earns less than that doesn't, but I'm saying from my personal experience, I didn't. I honestly really didn't know who I were until I had to grow up and have that money maturity and have that business maturity. My business was helping hundreds and thousands of clients. And now I was operating like a high-end entrepreneur where we're like, okay, we've got big business. I'm responsible for a lot of people. I'm responsible for staff. I've got to pay wages for staff and they've got kids. Like, you turn into somebody where your level of responsibility is a lot more. And it really allowed me to figure out who I am and where my strengths are and where my weaknesses are, and allow me to go deep on that. So I would write down, what are my weaknesses? I would go read, I would go study, I would go watch videos, I would invest in more coaches and more mentors on those weaknesses, whether that's personal or business. And I would just go to the absolute depth of it on personal development. And by the time my sprint in Bali came to an end, I was coming back to Dubai a new person. Like, everybody I had connected with in Dubai the first time, I honestly was like, these guys don't even know me anymore. I'm just a different animal. I've gone from that guy who was like an online fitness coach for getting shredded for holidays to some high performer guy. We'd started transitioning before I went, but across that trip in Bali, we transitioned into working with multi 7-8 figure business owners on high performance, on fitness. We launched our CEO program, which is all about helping other people build an online business. So it turned very much from, I was just this guy who was doing well and was very driven to succeed and be the best version of me, to just doing so much work on myself with so little distraction, consciously and intentionally, spending, I would say, close to 6 figures on mentors during that period of time, and 10xing my business in all areas, and 10xing the impact we can have on clients. And for me, them 6 months in Bali, like, I can't continue to live in Bali now. I do like Bali, but not full time. I just don't see enough things that force me to grow. There's nothing you can't really buy in Bali once you get to a certain point. And Dubai, for me, coming back here, a new guy, and being able to see Dubai differently and being able to experience it differently and being able to go and do all the most luxurious things here and buy all the stuff you couldn't do maybe the first time around, it's completely changed. So I've come back here now, locked in on an absolute mission that I'm back in my cave now. I'm settled down. I'm in a relationship. I know who I am. I'm calling the shots. And it's all about playing my 10-year game. I've got a 10-year game on how much impact I want to have on this world, how much I want to build myself up personally, mindset-wise, physically, working on my physique and mindset all the time, but also from a career standpoint, the impact I want to have, how many results I want to have, how many testimonials I want to have. And this is for both our CEO product and for our VIP. I want to help X amount of people. I'm not going to disclose it. I will write it down and make a video on this and show you guys though. I do have a number of people I want to help from a physique and mindset standpoint in our VIP, but in our CEO, I've got a very big target for how many people who watch my content, how many people I want to build themselves up into their best self and actually help them build an online business and become financially and location free. Now, we've actually already done this. We've been working with 40 clients recently, 15 of which are now in that position. Now, I've got a very big goal on how many lives I want to change with this product. And this to me is the most impactful, fulfilling product ever. Because yes, the physique and mindset coaching it's essential. Everybody needs to build their best self, but it's not just the fitness, guys. It's not just the fitness and mindset. It's about building your best self, but it's about building your best life. And it would be unauthentic of me to not build a product to help more people do what I've done, because having the ability to travel, having the ability to make money online, and create an amazing life for yourself. Figure out who you are and have opportunity to provide back and give back to people and loved ones is the craziest thing. But most importantly, to live and work and do a job that you don't need to escape from. There is nothing I would rather do than sit and work all day, whether it is that laptop lifestyle or whether it is sat in an office in my pit and just getting down and stuck in and creating high quality course videos and coaching sessions for our clients. There's nothing more I'd rather do, because there's nothing more fulfilling than knowing that I have just impacted hundreds and thousands of lives with the one thing that was once my biggest struggle. And I recommend to any of you guys out there, if you've overcome a struggle, no matter what that is, whether it is shredding the body fat, whether it is building the muscle, whether it is transforming your mindset, whether it is progressing through your career, whether you are in an industry like real estate or sales, and you know you could provide value to people, you should be looking at monetizing that into an online coaching business based around your personal brand. This is exactly what we do in our CEO. And yes, at the start, guys, you are going to be aiming for that online six-figure lifestyle, and the first goal is 100% going to be going to Dubai, going to Thailand, going to Bali, going to Miami, and working on that laptop and making some money and feeling fulfilled by loving the work that you're doing. That's phase one. But what I will tell you guys is when you want that 7-8 figure business, you will have so much love and you will be in so much flow state. This is where I am now. I'm in so much flow state. I don't even need to be sat on a laptop in the sun. I am just so happy growing and knowing that I'm being more impactful to more people on a daily basis. And this is almost where you lock back in. You come back to a base. The traveling helps you through that six-figure period, and it's something that every single person needs to do. In my opinion, every single lad on the planet needs to be earning a minimum of 6 figures in an online business, in a job that or an industry that actually fulfills them, so it doesn't feel like a chore. And get that travel. Get that solo travel. Go to these locations. Go network with these lads. Go date these high-end women you're going to find in these locations, and really figure out who you are. That's a necessity. Build your best self, build your best life. And for those of you who want to take it to that next level and have a worldwide impact, well, that's when you're going to delve into that 7, 8, even 9-figure business where you're going to lock in, you're going to be in a location, and you're going to suck it up, take the pain, and build a big business. Guys, I hope you found that really valuable. I hope after watching this video, you do feel a little bit more inspired to go take action, become the best version of yourself, create a life for yourself. Just having that financial location freedom will completely change your life. And then when you start traveling, once you get into that base position, when you are earning a few grand a month online, take it as fast as possible, because I waited far too long. I felt too tired at the time, and it was just a weakness of my own that I waited too long, because I know if I'd have taken that leap sooner, I would be a lot further ahead today. Go do it, guys. Go build that online business. Go create a life of freedom and help the world back. All right. Hope you found that so valuable. If you don't already, let's connect on Instagram at Tom D. Pearson. I will put links below, and I will also put links for our products that will most likely be very valuable to you. Let's get it, guys. Let's go.